Okay, so this story is about the expulsion of the Jewish tribe called Banuna. Okay, they were one of the Jewish tribes that were expelled from Medina because they had broken their treaty by killing. Some of their people had killed a person, and they were asked to leave. They didn't leave, and then the Muslims, they with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, surrounded their fortress, and that's what this is about. Okay, we read a little bit about that last time. So we were on ayah number 2. Now, with that background, now I'll give you a little bit more details, and then some of these things will become clear because you didn't know the story when we read the ayah first. It wasn't clear. So now, inshallah, it'll become a little bit clear, and we will learn more about the story. So, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم. Everything in the heaven and the earth, in the heavens and the earth, glorifies Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, glorifies the perfection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He's the Almighty, All-Wise. هو الذي أخرج الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب. He's the one who expelled, who drove out the disbelievers from among the people of the book, in this case the Jews. من ديارهم, from their homes, لأول الحشر, at the first gathering. There's a lot of opinions on what this means by the first gathering, but I don't want to delve into those, so we will move on. ما ظننتم أن يخرجوا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Muslims, you didn't think that they would leave, because Muslims were still in a state of weakness at that time. So they didn't think that they could drive them out. They will have support from the hypocrites in Medina. They would have supports from other Jewish tribes, etc., etc. So this is very key here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that you didn't think that you would be able to drive them out. وَظَنُّوا, and as for them, they thought, the Jews, the Banuna tribe, وَظَنُّوا أَنَّهُمْ مَانِعَتُهُمْ حُصُونُهُمْ, they thought that they are their fortresses will protect them. Okay, min Allah, from Allah, meaning whenever Allah says from Allah, it usually means from the believers. That they will be protected from Allah in their fortresses. That is, they would be protected from the Muslims in their fortresses. فَأَتَاهُمَ اللَّهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَمْ يَحْتَسِبُوا, but Allah came to them from where they couldn't even imagine. Right? They thought, the Muslims thought they were weak. The Jews thought, the Banu Nadir tribe thought that they're protected in their fortresses, nothing can harm them. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that then Allah came to them, came to the Jews from where they couldn't even imagine. Or this could be also understood as, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came to the aid of the Muslims for where Muslims couldn't even imagine. Right? Both thought it's not going to happen. Right? The Muslims thought that they're too weak, and the Jews thought that they have a fortress, so nothing's going to happen. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explains what is this aid to the Muslims that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided, and what is something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did to the Jews that made them feel not protected in their fortresses. وَقَذَفَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمِ الرُّعْبَ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cast fear into the hearts, in the hearts of the Jews. They thought they were protected. And remember, they thought that the hypocrites in Medina who were pretending to be Muslims, they're the ones who will come to their aid. The other Jewish tribes will come to their aid. Other people will come to their aid, but nobody came. The hypocrites, they didn't come. The other Jewish tribes, they didn't come to help them. And on top of that, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cast fear into the hearts of the Jews in Banu Nadir. So much so, يُخْرِبُونَ بُيُوتَهُمْ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ. They destroyed their own homes with their own hands. وَأَيْدِي الْمُسْلِمِينَ, and by the hands of the believers. فَاعْتَبِرُوا يَا أُولِي الْأَبْصَارِ. Then take heed, take a lesson from this, those who have intellect, those who have eyesight, those who can see. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that since there was an impossibility that this might happen, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it possible by instilling fear into the hearts of the Jews. And they got so scared that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had asked them to leave and take whatever they can with them. But they didn't, when they wanted to leave, they didn't want to leave all of the things that they had inside the fortresses. They didn't want to leave them for the Muslims to take. So they broke their own homes. They broke the things that could be valuable. So that's why they broke their own homes, and that's when they then left with whatever they could carry on their camels. يُقْرِبُونَ بُيُوتَهُمْ بِأَيْدِيهِمْ, that they broke their own homes with their own hands and by the hands of the believers. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying there is a lesson in this. Lesson is what? Lesson is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's aid can come to the weak where they couldn't even imagine. All they have to do is have faith and tawakkul and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلَوْلَا أَنْ كَتَبَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْجَلَاءَ. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had not written the expulsion, the exile for them, meaning it was not part of their fate that they will be, if it were not for the fact that exile and expulsion was written for them, لَعَذَّبَهُمْ فِي الدُّنْيَا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is here saying, we would have then punished them in this world differently, right? They would have had a worse punishment, meaning they would have died in battle, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had written expulsion for them at this time. وَلَهُمْ فِي الْآخِرَةِ عَذَابُ النَّارِ. And for them on the day of judgment will be the punishment of the fire, the torment of the fire. Any questions thus far? This is based on at least what you already know. So the new information that we learned today is that they broke their own homes with their own hands. And then they were asked to leave. Have you guys, any one of you have been following the recent history in what's happening in Palestine?
Yeah, kinda.
Kinda?
Yeah.
Did you follow the news where the Jews had asked some people to leave, some areas, people to leave?
The neighborhood.
Yes, and they told them to break their homes with their own hands, otherwise they will be fined. So it's almost as if, my belief is they actually know this part of the Quran, so they're taking revenge, and they're giving them the same kind of treatment. It's like, you break your homes because we want to build something over here, and then you leave, and if you don't leave, you're going to have to pay the fine and take whatever you can with them. So subhanallah, it's almost as if they're re-scripting this in a vengeful manner, these set of āyāt. Wallahu a'lam. But it's horrible what's happening over there. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them protection. They're living in their own homes and they're being asked to leave, and they're asked to break their own homes with their own hands and leave. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tries and tests people. Subhanallah, it's amazing. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues and gives the rationale of why this happened. ذَلِكَ, and this is because, what is because? What happened to the Banu Nadir tribe in Medina or around Medina. This happened to them because بِأَنَّهُمْ شَاقُّوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. This is because they opposed Allah and His messenger. وَمَنْ يُشَاقِّ اللَّهَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. Then whoever opposes fights aggressively against Allah, meaning fights aggressively against Allah means fights aggressively against the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It may be the messenger, it may be the believers. وَمَن يُشَاقِ اللَّهَ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is severe in punishment, severe in retribution. Okay. مَا قَطَعْتُم مِّن لِينَةٍ أَوْ تَرَكْتُمُوهَا قَائِمَةً. Okay, before we talk about this, let me remind you, I think we talked about the tafsir of this last time, where we said that when the Muslims, they had put a siege on the Banuna tribes, they had different fortresses. The Muslims had put a siege. They got scared inside. They started to break their own homes. One of the things that actually instilled fear in the hearts of the Jews was with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked to cut down the palm trees and burn some of the palm trees. And this is what this ayah is talking about. Just to remind you, the Jewish tribal area and people in Medina, it was an agrarian society. That's how they did farming. And most of the farming in Medina was the farming of palm trees and dates, right? So that is what, so they had tons and tons and acres and acres and acres of land of palm trees with dates. And that's how they used to make money and survive. So with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, instructed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to cut down some of the trees and burn some of the trees. That's what actually caused the Jewish tribe to become fearful. They're like, oh my gosh, they are actually cutting off our livelihood, right? We have no other option. We don't have the strength to fight them because they were afraid. And then on top of that, their livelihood and their monetary sources were being destroyed, right? And that's what they thought. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now coming to the defense of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because they blame him. It's like, why are you burning trees? Why are you cutting down trees? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is coming to the defense of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. مَا قَطَعْتُم مِّن لِينَةٍ أَوْ تَرَكْتُمُوهَا قَائِمَةً. You did not cut down any of the palm trees or left them standing على أصولها, on its roots. فَبِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. It was because it was the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It was only done by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَلِيُخْزِيَ الْفَاسِقِينَ, so that he made, and this was done by, and Allah gave this permission to Rasulullah to do such a thing, so he might disgrace those who are disobedient, those who are fasiq, those who are corrupt. Okay, does that make sense? This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala coming to the defense that I told him to do it. This is why he did it. Okay, so normally it is not part of the law of the rulings of war and battle. You are not supposed to, a Muslim army is never supposed to destroy property. It's unnecessarily, never supposed to destroy crops and trees and any of this stuff. Muslim army does not do that, does not cause destruction. They fight in defense, right? Or in offense as needed. A preemptive offense or preemptive defense, but they never destroy property. Okay, that is not part of law. So this was an exception made where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala especially instructed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to do this, and he did that. Okay. All right. Now, after the Jews of Banu Nadir tribe within the fortresses, they broke their own homes and they destroyed the property, that whatever they could, so that the Muslims can't have it. And then they took away with them whatever they could on their camels or what have you, and they were asked to leave. They left to some of the other neighboring tribes. There was a tribe. There was a tribe at a distance from Medina, quite a distance. It's called Khaybar. I don't know if you guys have heard about that. So a lot of these Jews that they were, when they were expelled, they went to Khaybar. That was a bigger tribe up there at a distance from Medina. I think it's like a half an hour journey from in car from Medina, if I'm not wrong. Let me kind of show you, see if I can figure it out to show you. That city is still there. Oop, I didn't spell it right. Maps. Yeah, see, these are some of the fortresses. That's what they look like of the Jews. This is the Khaybar fortress. Parts of it are still standing 1400 years later. This is Khaybar. If you keep zooming out, you can see this is Medina. And this is to the north. This is Khaybar. So the Banu Nadir were somewhere around here before, outside in the vicinities of Medina. Nobody knows exactly, I don't think, where they were. Maybe they do. I don't know if there's a map out there for that. Let's see if we can say Banu Nadir. Okay, do you see this picture kind of shows like around Medina, all these little gray areas here that you see. These are the Jewish tribes that were around Medina in their fortresses. That's where they had built. So there's Banu Sa'ida, Banu Bayza, Banu Habla, Banu Jahaba, Banu Nadir was right here, Banu Qurayza, Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Waqif, all of this, Banu Harith, Banu Zafar, all of these were there. Okay, let's see if we can find another map somewhere. Not a good map. I don't think, I have not come across like a good map before. I was just hoping I would run into something, but I didn't. I don't clearly. Anyways, by the way, I may have told you in the Tafsir literature, you hear about Ghatafan. Ghatafan were non-Muslims that were living around Medina. Of course, there was lots of non-Muslims there. The only Muslims were in Medina. So Ghatafan tribe, Ghatafan and Ghassanids, these are the people that were up here to the north of Arabia. They were the disbelievers in Mecca and the Jews and the hypocrites. They were making treaties with these guys to attack the Muslims. Okay. By the way, when did this Banu Nadir expulsion happen? Did I tell you that? Surah pie chart. Let me see if I can figure that out. No. Anyway, so did I tell you guys when did that happen? No. It was after the battle of it was after the Battle of Uhud is when this happened. Okay, the Battle of Uhud. I believe. Yes. Okay. Let's keep going. Now they're going to talk about a different concept. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَمَا أَفَاءَ اللَّهُ عَلَى رَسُولِهِ مِنْهُمْ فَمَا أَوْجَفْتُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ خَيْلٍ وَلَا رِكَابٍ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يُسَلِّطُ رُسُلَهُ عَلَى مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Okay. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, I'm going to give you a summary of this. There's no point in doing word for word translation because you're going to get confused. So basically, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the concept of fay. Fay, okay, F A-I Hamza. Okay, fight. What is fight? So you have two types of situations. When an army takes over another army, they either fight, or the other army surrenders without a fight. You understand, right? There's two scenarios. The two armies fight, or the other army just doesn't fight, they just surrender, right? These are the two situations. Clear so far? Okay, in either case, if the army that you fought, that you actually had a battle with, when they surrender and they run away, they leave their stuff behind, that is called war booty, right? That's called war booty. It's called, there are special rulings for that in fiqh, in Islam. It's called ghanima. How should that war booty is divided among the Muslims, right? Similarly, when there is a different kind of battle where there's not a battle, right? There's no bloodshed, but the other army leaves, or the other people leave, and they leave behind things, that's called fight. So the booty that's left behind in the first situation is called ghanima. The second situation is called fight. Okay, this is just for your information. I'm sharing this with you. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the concept of fight. So Allah is saying that whatever fight was left, whatever fight was granted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the Rasul, that happened without any camels or any cavalry or any battle. Okay, and then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about here, وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يُسَلِّطُ رُسُلَهُ عَلَى مَنْ يَشَاءُ. And Allah gives power to his messengers over whatever he wants, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the power, meaning without any battle, you guys won and they were expelled. There was no bloodshed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala empowers his messengers with whatever he wants and Allah gives power to whoever he wills. Wallahu ala kulli shay'in qadir, and Allah has power over everything. Okay, so keep this concept of fight in mind. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again is talking about fight, what should be done with the fight. So what was the fight? What were the gains there that were left when the Banu Nadir were expelled? Can anybody guess? I've given you hints already. Can you guess what did they leave behind when they were expelled?
Like your weapon?
Weapons, sure. But they left everything, right? Their homes, the fortress. What else was outside the fortress? What did I tell you? Well, how did they make money?
The palm trees?
Yes.
Agriculture, yeah.
All the land and all the palm trees and all the dates. That was all fight. You guys follow? That is what's important. Before this, were the Muslims wealthy at that time? They were not. So this allowed a lot of money to flow into the Muslims of Medina. Yes, go ahead.
Why is there a differentiation between whether there's bloodshed or no bloodshed onto who's
I don't know the details behind the fiqh of the laws, but there are two different laws. There's fight and there's ghanima. Ghanima is okay. I know an answer, but I don't know the detail behind it. Okay, so let's say you're a warrior, right? You go and fight in the battle. Okay, it's not like today's battles. Here the soldiers get a salary, correct? So soldiers get a salary, whether they're contract soldiers or actual employed soldiers by the army. You are going to get a salary. Back then, what's your incentive for battle? Why are you going to go battle other than, fighting in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Whatever you get a share essentially directly. Okay, if you were a battle warrior, you get the share of whatever you could gather, or I don't know the exact details, but basically you're entitled to a portion of it directly. Okay, when there is no battle, when you didn't do anything, then you don't get no share immediately, right? You don't get a direct share. Is that clear, the concept?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's like the root of the difference. I don't know the exact details of the difference. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Ma afa Allahu ala rasulihi, and whatever fate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assigned, or whatever fate was gained by the messenger, min ahli al-qura, from the townships, meaning the tribes, then falillahi walil rasul. So the original, whatever fight is collected, that is for Allah and His Messenger. What does that mean? Is for Allah and His Messenger? Does Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam get to keep everything? No, that's not what it means. It means it goes into the Baytul Mal, the treasury of the Muslims. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam doesn't own it. It goes into the main treasury. That's what it means. So whatever fight is collected, it goes into the treasury. فَلِلَّهِ وَلِلرَّسُولِ. Then وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى, and it also is for whom? Because it's not for the soldiers, because they didn't fight. وَلِذِي الْقُرْبَى, and it is for the kindred, which means the family or the relatives of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Why? Long story short, the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are the ones that were they originally migrated over from Mecca to Medina. Did they bring anything? Did they bring their homes and their businesses along with them when they did the hijrah? No, they left everything behind. They came with with just clothes on their back, right? So this is the reason. So it belongs to and you'll see it will become clear later. Then it is for the relatives, wal yatama, and the orphans, and the masakin, and the needy, wabni sabil, and the travelers, the wayfarer. So that, and here's the Islamic principle coming, a really powerful Islamic principle. By the way, before I move on, this is called the khumus. The division of the fight is in fifths. How many parties? So the treasury gets a fifth of it. Then the relatives get a fifth of it. Then the orphans get a fifth of it, and then the needy people get a fifth of it, and the travelers get a fifth of it. Okay, so there's total 5 groups. So this is called the khumus. This is how it is divided. We are scratching the surface on the laws of the distribution of fight. Okay, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying this is divided. Why? Why should fight be divided? Okay, in order to لا يكون دولة بين الأغنياء منكم, so that money does not keep revolving among the rich among you. This is the concept. This is what the main concept behind why charity is important in Islam. Why war booty, how it's distributed, is important. It's not that just the rich people get to keep all of the war booty or all of the finances. This, Allah is saying, this is to prevent the money being just flowing between the rich people and they're transacting among themselves, as what happens today, right? Those who don't give in charity, what happens? The rich people keep becoming richer, right? They keep transacting and doing business among themselves, and they keep getting richer, and the middle class and the lower middle class and the poor people, they continue to remain poor, right? So here's the Islamic concept Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is this division needs to happen so that the rich people don't just revolve the money between themselves. كَيْ لَا يَكُونَ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ. It does not become a circular thing, dula. It does not become something that just keeps revolving. among the rich people. And here is one of the most famous ayat in the Quran coming now. وَمَا آتَاكُمُ الرَّسُولُ فَخُذُوهُ. And whatever your messenger assigns to you, gives you, take it. وَمَا نَهَاكُمْ عَنْهُ فَانْتَهُوا. And whatever he forbids you from, whatever he prohibits you from, then abandon it, abstain from it. This has two implications here. In this context, it means that this is fight. This is not ghanima. This was not a battle, you Muslims. This was a fight. There was no battle. So the money is going to be divided like this. It's going to be divided in these fifths. So only take from the messenger what he gives you. Don't ask him for more. Does that make sense? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning the Muslims, don't ask the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for more, because this was not a battle. So you are not entitled automatically to something. Okay? This needs to go into the treasury. And whatever Rasulullah gives you, take it. And whatever he prevents you from, then abstain from it. Okay, I hope that's clear. That's the first meaning. Second meaning, regardless of what it is, whatever your messenger gives you, then take it. And whatever he prohibits you from, then abstain from it. It could be laws, regulations, whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told you to do, meaning his sunnah, follow it, right? And whatever he tells you from his sunnah, don't do, then don't do it, right? This has this general implication. So this ayah is used for to give the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam authority. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran gave the sunnah of Rasulullah authority from ayat like this, and this is one of the most important ones. Whatever Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam tells you to do, do it, and whatever he forbids you from, abstain from it. Follow his sunnah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying. Does that make sense? That's the second meaning, and that's the most popular meaning of it. Clear? Wattaqullah. And while you do this, then continue to fear Allah. Meaning, fear Allah in how you approach Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Fear Allah because he is the messenger of Allah. He is extremely valued by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so you need to value him. So whatever he tells you to do, do it. Whatever he tells you to not do, don't do it. Whatever he gives you, just take it and continue to fear Allah. That you are not transgressing bounds. Inna Allah shadidul iqab. Verily, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is severe in punishment. So he's warning the Muslims here that don't transgress. Okay, don't ask for what is not yours. This is how it's going to be divided. Don't transgress beyond the bounds and the limits set by Rasulullah. Those bounds are sacred bounds. The sunnah is sacred. Don't go beyond those bounds. Have fear of Allah, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is severe in punishment. Clear? Okay. Did you guys know about this ayah? Anyone? I'm just curious if you had ever heard this one before.
No.
No. So in Surah al-Hashr, this is one of the most famous passages here. And there's more famous passages. And I remember I told you the last passage of Surah al-Hashr is the most famous. It's recited over and over by Qurra in Salah. Okay, so now I think I'm going to go ahead and finish at least this portion so that our theme continues, because it's going to make a lot more sense. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving the rationale behind why. So we already have the rationale of why the division of the fight needs to be in the fifths, and why is it for Allah and his messenger and for their relatives. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing the rationale behind it. He is saying lil fuqara il muhajirin, for the poor from those who did hijrah. The muhajirun, the poor from among them, it's for them. الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ وَأَمْوَالِهِمْ. They were expelled by the people of Makkah, by the mushrikun of Makkah. الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ. They were expelled from their homes. وَأَمْوَالِهِمْ. And from their properties. They didn't have anything. They are the poor people of the muhajirun. They have nothing in their name. Okay? لِلْفُقَرَاءِ الْمُهَاجِرِينَ الَّذِينَ أُخْرِجُوا مِنْ دِيَارِهِمْ وَأَمْوَالِهِمْ. Why did they do hijrah? Allah is saying, يَبْتَغُونَ فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانًا. They sought nothing except the bounty of Allah and His pleasure. Meaning, they are seeking the mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the only reason they did hijrah. That's the only reason they followed Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from Makkah to Medina. What did they seek? They sought nothing but seeking the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His bounties and His mercies. وَيَنْصُرُونَ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ. And they did what? They were helping as a result of this hijrah. They were helping Allah and His messenger, meaning helping the cause of Allah and His messenger. That's why they did hijrah. أُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الصَّادِقُونَ. They are the ones who are truly truthful. Okay, they're the ones who are truly the believers, the muhajirun. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this ayah right here, extreme praise for those who did hijrah, the muhajirun. Okay. Is it clear? Any questions? Okay. Then now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now praising another party. They are the Ansar, the people who actually, the Muhajirun came to Medina, and who helped them? The Muslims of Medina. And they helped them, right? They helped the Muhajirun. They had nothing, no food to eat, no money in their hands, in their pockets, nothing. They had no homes, nothing. They had zero, nothing. So the Ansar gave them half. They shared their property and wealth and food with them in their homes, right? So now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praising the Ansar. وَالَّذِينَ تَبَوَّأُوا الدَّارَ وَالْإِيمَانَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. And as for those who had already settled in the dar, here the home is Medina, okay? Dar wal-Imana, the home of faith essentially. Is it's not literally that way it's translated. Those who had settled in the home and they had settled in faith before them, before the Muhajirun. Who were they? The Ansar. They, remember, just to remind you again, I pretty much have been telling you this, I think, pretty much every session. The Ansar were before the hijrah happened, there were already Muslims in Medina growing in number. And this is who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about. Those who were there, they had settled, and they had settled in the faith from before them. يُحِبُّونَ مَنْ هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِمْ. They love those who migrate toward them, meaning to their city. They love the Muhajirun. Here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about the Ansar. The Ansar, they love the Muhajirun that are coming to them from Makkah. وَلَا يَجِدُونَ فِي صُدُورِهِمْ حَاجَةً. And they don't feel anything in their heart against them. They don't feel any jealousy, anything in their hearts against them. مِمَّا أُوتُوا. From what they have been given. Meaning they have a higher status than Muhajirun. They have a higher status than the Ansar, and the Ansar don't feel any jealousy from them. وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. And they prefer, the Ansar, they prefer over themselves taking care of the Muhajirun. They prefer the Muhajirun over themselves. They would do anything for them. The Ansar would. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is praising the Ansar here. That they would do anything over, above and beyond their own preferences. If they were hungry, instead of eating themselves, they would give the food to the Muhajirun because they had nothing. This is what it means. وَلَا يَجِدُونَ فِي صُدُورِهِمْ حاجة مما أوتوا ويؤثرون على أنفسهم ولو كان بهم خصاصة. Even if they needed something, they would prefer that their brothers, their muhajir brothers, can have something instead of themselves. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises them again, وَمَنْ يُوقَ شُحَّ نَفْسِهِ, and whoever is saved from stinginess, فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ, then they are the one who are ultimately successful.
Sheikh,
Yes.
so, aside from the historical education on this, right? As you were going through this surah, my question was, why is Allah telling us this? Right? So several hundred years later, why do we need to know how the Ansar were and what characteristics did they, embody, right? And it just comes the very last section of this, what you just, that whoever is not stingy, right? The benefit that there is for them.
Exactly.
Right. I was going to ask these boys and girls, like, why is Allah telling us this? What's in it for us, right? And that's it. It just answered the question.
It just answered the question. That's exactly right. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying this is how the Muslim brotherhood, the ideal Muslim brotherhood needs to be, right? Those who are in need, the people of the haves will give to the have-nots. Okay? That's the whole concept we've been reading thus far. You got money, this is how it needs to be distributed. This is the order that it needs to be distributed in. This is who it's for. This is the primary recipients of the finance should be the needy people. There needs to be a treasury in the Muslim ummah. There needs to be where people would come for aid. There are levels of who needs what, right? The muhajirun at a higher level. There are levels, okay? There were levels that were established all the way through the Khilafah of after Rasulullah had passed away. These levels were maintained by Abu Bakr, Umar radiallahu anhu, and Uthman and Ali radiallahu anhu, okay? There were some disagreements later on. There's just some ugly part of the history later on, but all of these laws were being followed. They were actually put in categories. Like these people, they were the original muhajirun. These were the early converts. They deserve higher. And then came the next one, and then came the next one. Then the Badriyun, those who fought in the Battle of Badr. There were people who didn't fight in the Battle of Badr. The Badris have a higher status than those who didn't fight in Badr. And then those who fought in Uhud. And those who fought, so there's levels, all the way down to the last levels, which is the conquest of Mecca, where all of the later on, those who became Muslims after the conquest of Mecca, right? They are at the last level, okay? And then there's the levels of the wives of the Prophet and the children of the Prophet and those kinds of things. So there are all these levels that were maintained. So that's one reason. The other reason is the brotherhood. So that not everybody is the same. You need to look at everybody's level, and then the brotherhood, those who have will give to the have-nots, so that the money does not keep revolving around the rich people. كَيْ لَا يَكُونَ دُولَةً بَيْنَ الْأَغْنِيَاءِ مِنْكُمْ. Okay? And look at the people, even though, for example, there are narrations where, was it Aisha radiallahu anha? She was, one of the highest ones in the highest levels, right? Of those who were entitled to most amount of what you might say, the stipend from the treasury every year. She used to give it all at the end of the day in charity. Yes, they were entitled more, but what were those people doing? They were such elevated, pious people. They didn't keep anything to themselves. They gave it all to the poor people. Okay, really powerful stuff here. If you guys know the history of the Muslims, and you might think, oh, why are these people getting more? Well, they didn't have anything to begin with, and they were so amazing that even though they didn't have anything, when they got something, they gave it back to the treasury, to the poor people. And here are the Ansar. they're giving everything that they have to the muhajirun so that they can accommodate them, because they're brothers in Islam. They were their first brothers in Islam. Before they became Muslim, they were already Muslim, right? They're essentially their fathers and forefathers in Islam, in a sense. Okay, so if we continue here, we come across now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is now talking about us. Okay, here then we will end after this, inshallah, after this ayah. It's a beautiful dua in this. Okay, وَالَّذِينَ جَاءُوا مِن بَعْدِهِمْ, and as for those who came after them, after whom? The muhajirun first, then the ansar, and then those who came after them, which includes us. يَقُولُونَ, they say, Allah is encouraging us to make a prayer. Okay, they say, those that come after them, رَبَّنَا, O our Lord, اغفر لنا, forgive us, cover our mistakes, وَلِإِخْوَانِنَا الَّذِينَ سَبَقُونَ بِالْإِيمَانِ, and forgive our brothers, those who were before us in Iman. So here is our original forefathers of Islam, of Iman, right? Who, this is where Islam started. It was just Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam first, and then the original people of Makkah, who became then Muhajirun to Medina, and those are all our grandfathers and forefathers of Iman. So we're making prayer, we're making this dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is encouraging us to make dua for them. Oh Allah, forgive us and the brothers that preceded us in Iman. وَلَا تَجْعَلْ فِي قُلُوبِنَا غِلًّا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, and do not put any kind of animosity or hatred in our hearts against the believers, whether they're before us or the believers that are among us, like you and I. Don't put any animosity in our hearts against each other. Beautiful dua. This is the attitude of a Muslim, of a mu'min. We make the dua for those before us, and we make dua for amongst us, and we make dua for not having animosity against us, each other. وَلَا تَجْعَلْ فِي قُلُوبِنَا غِلًّا لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا رَبَّنَا, O our Lord, إِنَّكَ رَؤُوفٌ رَحِيمٌ, you indeed are the most kind and the most merciful. Basically, whatever kindness and mercy is in our hearts, that comes from you. And extend that mercy and kindness in our hearts to the hearts of others and those who were our forefathers in spirituality before.